Thank you so much for staying with us right here on S3. It's Afternoon Express, and we are delivering our final cooking masterclass of the year. And of course, we're sprinkling some music on the top of it. But of course, first things first. We are about to tackle something that is one of my favorite foods, but I always get wrong.
Well, you won't get it wrong after this, we're hoping.
I'm holding my breath because I'm so excited. Ali, I'm with you. Ribs in any shape or form, done correctly, are just sublime.
Magnifique, you took the words out of my mouth. So if you weren't already sure about how delicious short ribs can be, then you have to try these oven-roasted short ribs basted with a punchy citrus glaze that is truly mouth-watering combination. So show us how.
So I think let's just talk quickly about what a short rib is, Pali. So a short rib is a part of, it's a beef cut, either taken from the brisket or the chuck portion of the animal, and you can see it's basically just the short rib, and the surrounding meat. So that's what we're working with today. Now we have a couple of things that we're just going to be marinating this in. We've got some cumin, some smoked paprika. So we're taking you to Valencia a little bit with the spices over here. These flavors work great with ribs, especially with the caramelization. Literally, my mouth is salivating. I'm so excited. And then salt and pepper, very important to season your meat. And we're going to just toss this in the marinade for a few seconds and then into the pan.
How hot is your pan already? I can see it's smoking.
It's smoking. I'm going to turn it down slightly because we don't want it to burn. Remember, we're just searing it off, right? So we want sort of a medium to high heat. Okay, so let's actually just test it over there. There we go.
That sounds like the right type of sizzle.
Good, nice sizzle. We're going to sear it off. But there's an extra special ingredient or component to this dish. Tooms,
and that is
what's on your station?
So we're making an orange glaze basically to baste the meat with. So the one thing we're trying to show you here is the different levels of flavor we put into the short rib. That was the first step, where you get in your spices, you get in your seasoning and all of that, and you seal it in with the step that Jay has done. But obviously, after you've cooked it and it's come from the oven, you want to still get this beautiful glaze and nice and shiny. So you've got your salty level, that's the first, and then you get the sweet that comes from this glaze that we're about to make. And that, I think, is the right way to do ribs. I see people boiling ribs all the time, and I understand we're trying to get them tender. The risk with that is that all you taste is nothing and just the basting sauce. And that, for me, is a bit of an anticlimax.
Yeah, I want us to celebrate the meat within itself. So, Dumi, as you are creating this glaze, I just want to touch base. I've got a question for you, Jay. I saw that the first thing that you did when you did put the ribs on the pan, you actually put them on the side. Now, that kind of goes against what I've understood when creating or making steaks, lamb chops, and the likes, where you first start by rendering the fat. So, meaning you'd actually have them like how the other two are, on its bum or on its head. Why did you start on the side?
So, Pali, with these short ribs that we have over here, the fat is actually not that thick, right?
Okay.
So there's no really need for you to render out the fat because remember, we frying these off just for 3 minutes on each side into the oven for almost 2 hours. So that long cooking process will then render out any fat that hasn't been already rendered in the pan.
Got you. And I suppose you actually do need that fat because can you imagine the ribs going into the oven for 2 hours and not having any juice or any natural fats to work with?
Exactly, and that's why we've chosen to do the glaze as an afterthought, right? Because you're taking care of the meat, cooking it correctly, and using all those juices from the meat itself to baste it as it cooks. And then that's just a nice after, effect that just adds that extra
It's an afterthought that means all the difference. So tell me, on your side, how far is your glaze?
So I've just basically added only 3 ingredients in here. We've got some butter that we melted in at first, and then into that I've added some orange juice as well as some sugar into that. So obviously at this point, as a person, if you want to then make your own specific type of glaze, this is where you can play around. If you want to go with the more Asian flavors, because I know a lot of the Asian cuisine love short rib as well, you can definitely add in, stuff like your hoisin sauces. You can definitely add in your oyster sauce as well, depending on what. Soy sauce, stuff like that. Mirin, you could literally play around with it. It all depends on what's the end flavor you want to go with. And then think about that and then let the flavors come together in that direction.
And in this case today, we want a nice citrusy glaze here. That flavor punch that we promised at the top. You've already got a flavor. I mean, you guys have been watching Afternoon Express since the 1st of January this year. So you already know it's taste tester time, and you've already got a nicely sized portion for me. Oh, and that glaze is glazing. It's sticky.
And friend, that's why I'm also just adding the zest as well, because you also want to...
What a surprise. A beautiful surprise.
It's a beautiful surprise, nah? And because I know you, my friend, this would be the perfect time as well to add that bit of chili in here. Add it into the sauce, not into the meat, so that it actually comes through at the very end as you're basting your meat.
As that kick. Look, at the end, I do love savory and sweet combinations, but also that kick of chili is always very important to me. But honestly, I'm gonna hand it over to you. It doesn't even need the chili, it's so good.
Thank you, thank you.
It's all about creating balance, Pali. You can see that we don't have a lot of ingredients on our station here, but it's selecting the correct ingredients that balance each other. And, you know, cooking is all about sort of just testing along the way. You know, adding your own flair. This is a great base to work from. You know, if you want the chili, put the chili. But just, you know, be restrained at first. Play with it, taste the meal, and develop your recipes as you go. You know, we always say, you know, use a recipe as sort of your starting point and change it, adapt it to, everyone has different flavor palettes, right? Adapt it to your family, make it your own and make it special. And that's what I love about dishes like this.
And at the end of the day, we are serving you nothing but New Year's celebratory meals. That inspiration that you need going into the new year, something that you can share with your friends and families. And I can definitely see this on any platter table, dining room table, or even just snacking in bed. That's me. I just eat in bed.
I love that. And you can see, look at that gorgeous caramelization we've got on the short ribs. This is exactly what you want to do. Take your time with this. Cover it with some foil into the oven for about 2.5 hours, right? Remove it from the oven. Pour your glaze over, bang it in for another 20 minutes. That sugar will just continue to caramelize, and then they'll be as beautiful as the ones we've prepared earlier.
I love that. And of course, you've just decided to give it a side of roasted veggies, but I suppose you can go, sky's the limit, from mashed potato to rices, salads. The list goes on, and I'm loving the fact that we're about to dive into all of this. Now, if you do want this recipe, you know where to go. It's afternoonexpress.co.za.